All right, welcome to round 4 here with the Saheeli Evolution deck. We have won the die roll. Also, apparently I'm not a very strong mathematician. I think I ended that last video saying that it was the end of, or that I would see you in round 3. That, of course, was round 3. We are now on round 4, and we see a particularly poor opener that I will ship. This also looks quite bad. I'm curious. It may be better than the average 6. The problem is that this hand needs both lands and more powerful spells. It needs to be accelerated a little bit, but obviously I'm going to have to use the Oath of Nissa to find a land. So let's assume for a moment I do find a land. Then I get to run out at Scavenging Ooze with no value. And I have another Ooze, which is also not good early in the game with no extra mana. And then I have something like Kitchen Finks plus Felidar Guardian, so I think I'm actually going to have to mulligan this. I think this hand is quite poor. This hand is better. Yeah, this looks a lot better. Path, I'm basically guaranteed to play the bird, so doesn't matter. Not worth waiting for that. So we're going to fetch a Stomping Ground or Breeding Pool. Doesn't matter here. It's all the same. I guess I have an Oath even. I could go without, but I think I'm going to grab it just in case. Biggest reason being I might not have time, like if I draw a land, I'm ideally not casting the Oath, I'm just going straight into the Saheeli Rye. So I'm going to need the red and blue mana to do so. And if I draw like a basic forest or basic plains or temple garden or anything like that, then would not have the ability. Oh, this is a nightmare matchup, unfortunately. I think this is probably the worst, well, maybe not the worst matchup, but it's not great for us. We do have the Scavenging Ooze, and that's one of the reasons we added Scavenging Oozes to the deck, was to hedge against graveyard decks, but unfortunately I don't have the mana required to use it. It would be very good to eat the Thug here. I'm going to take the Breeding Pool and then slam the Scavenging Ooze on the table. So our opponent hits Narcomoeba, which means they're going to get a Prized Amalgam. They also hit Conflagrate and Life from the Loam. So I can actually stem the bleeding a little bit here with this Scavenging Ooze, which I'm probably going to have to do, which means basically I can eat the Conflagrate and the Life. Looks like my opponent just has a Cathartic Reunion, so all of that is ruined. Yeah, if only I'd had that land drop, we would have been in an okay spot here, obviously, but I think with my opponent having the Cathartic Reunion here, I imagine we are in a large amount of trouble. But we'll see. I guess we should pop this out here. No, they're just going to Conflagrate. Okay, well that's not great for me, but certainly less worrisome, I suppose. All right, well I just didn't hit a land, so we look all but dead here. We'll play through it, but with my opponent getting to execute their game plan and having multiple amalgams and an amoeba in play, we should be all but toast. This means Spear Guide's in their list. Good to know. Hit another amalgam, and they have Thug and looting here. So it looks like they can even loot here, dredging Thug. Oh, they said a looting from hand. Okay. So I imagine they'll start on that. They did not hit another looter, so they'll have to take a natural draw, but they did hit the 4th amalgam and a Bloodghast. Fortunately, they've already played the land for turn, which is weird since they were leading on looting. Perhaps a little bit of a sequencing misstep from our opponent, but certainly is benefiting me here. Looks like they may just also have a Cathartic. No, they have the Loam that they dredged, of course. That makes sense. And our opponent's got us on nearly a 2-turn clock. I think rather than give them any more information, we're just going to go ahead and concede. There's really no way we win here. I would have to play this tapped, and they would just put us to 1 at best. Okay, so against Dredge, we want Rest in Peace. That is why we have this. Whoops, I clicked on the Eidolon Rhetoric. Gaddock also stops Conflagrate, which is helpful, so we'll probably put that in. Magus doesn't really do anything. Negate and Unified Will are pretty poor. I'm on the play, so you can make an argument for negate because it counters Cathartic Reunion. I'm not sure that's a very good argument, though. Is it Staticaster? It's not bad. Repeatedly kills Bloodghasts or gets Narcomoebas off the table. Bailout's also not terrible. I probably don't really want this evolution, but I could consider it. No interest in Sage, Magus, or Unify Will. No interest in Eidolon or Kataki, and little interest in the paths. At least their paths and not something like Push or Bolt or whatever. I mean, it is getting rid of those things permanently, so perhaps worth it, especially with how few cards I'm going to have that I want here. So these are kind of the 5 cards I would consider, other than the few we have already jammed, which is the, of course, whoops, that's not a Rest in Peace. The Rest in Peace and the Gaddock Teague. So these are the, sorry, this should be in the maybe pile for sure. So these are the 5 I primarily have my eye on. These 3, even, I guess even in this order, something like definitely these, probably these, and maybe these. Sun Titan is pretty dang slow, so we're going to go ahead and get that one on out of here. Kitchen Finks is like not a terrible blocker and can buy us a little bit of extra time, so I guess I'm going to leave the Finks. Voice Resurgent can do a similar thing. Scavenging is just great. Wall of Vomans actually can do a pretty similar thing in this matchup as well. I could probably afford to shave on a Renegade Rallier. Thragtusk can buy me some time. Don't love it. Honestly, the evolutions just don't seem that appealing. Like, my opponent's not countering them, but I really just don't have any bullets for them. I should probably also be shaving on things that care about Rest in Peace, but it's kind of hard to do that since, you know, my deck cares about Rest in Peace. I guess I probably shave on a couple of these, and maybe I do cut the Finks, especially in favor of something like the Baloth. So then I have like these 8 cards for like maybe these 8 cards. Oh, sorry, I don't want this evolution in there. I'm still not enthused about this negate. Maybe these 6. And these 6 come in for definitely cutting this. Definitely that. And I think definitely these. I think they're pretty unexciting. So maybe 1 voice of the Finks. I guess 1 voice. It's just largely irrelevant. I should probably even cut another one. We'll cut 1 and leave 1 evolution. I still don't think it's particularly powerful, but it can find us Felidar Guardian sooner rather than later, which is important. So here, Horizon Canopy would be much better. I'm not sure it would promote this hand to keepable, but it would be better. We largely have to find Rest in Peace or a way to find it as well. This hand, real clunky. It doesn't have a Rest in Peace, so I'm going to aggressively mulligan that away. I don't think I can go to 4 when I have this hand. Still no rest, of course. We only have the 2. It's not like that's very unlikely, but we're going to keep, as we have a turn 3 kill uninhibited on the play. Hopefully just a Faithless Looting here, not like a Lightning Axe. Okay, Conflagrate. More of a concern. But I mean, what am I going to do? Kind of have to hope my opponent doesn't really use the Conflagrate, which is incredibly unlikely. But yeah, this game looks very bad. We'll see how much they discard. Maybe they don't totally destroy me here, but they probably do. They probably just kill both my things basically for free because they want to discard their hand anyway. This is basically worst case scenario that my opponent had a kind of hand where they intended on using the Conflagrate to put stuff in their yard, which occasionally Dredge needs to do. And it just so happened that Conflagrate is basically just disgustingly good here. I mean, maybe I couldn't afford to cast a Saheeli Evolution for this reason, but I feel like I needed to get the Scry and just hope that my opponent made a mistake and like Cathartic Reunion or something, anything else. So I'm pretty sure I have to cycle this with just no action. And we'll fetch here end of turn. I guess maybe it'd be better to Hollow Fountain tap because I can get a basic off of this, but it feels like it largely doesn't matter here. Opponent hit a Grudge. Well, I don't have any artifacts in, so they probably figured I had Cage, but Cage would be weird alongside Evolution. So they do also have a looting now. Interesting. Dredge Loam and and a thug. Should have closed that a while ago. Sorry about that. It's probably shrinking everything a little too much. Let's just get a temple garden here. Yeah, we'll play this tapped. Maybe I actually just do need to play Felidar Guardian here. My opponent has Lootings, Grudge. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll play this no value and just hope we draw Saheeli Rai. Oops. Not great for us, but hey, I think that's our out, is that we just kind of happen into the combo. So our opponent gets to Life from the Loam here to ensure they get their land drop, so they get Bloodghast, Amalgam. So suddenly this no clock turns into a huge clock, and we just have no time, which is not a surprise here. But we could just draw Saheeli Rai, or Oath into Saheeli Rai. Baloth kind of helps buy us some time. Definitely worse draws. We'll play this. Probably want to thin. Our blocks aren't bad with our opponent not having a Conflagrate, but we're kind of on that clock as well. Basically, if our opponent finds another Conflagrate anytime soon, we're in some trouble. Looks like they found another Grudge. It doesn't bother us unless I start comboing off and target the wrong token. Now that's definitely something to keep in mind for anyone who might not be familiar, is Saheeli Rai does in fact make artifact tokens. So when you minus your Saheeli Rai target Felidar Guardian, the token that it makes will be a artifact creature. So if you continue to combo and click on your tokens instead of the original Felidar Guardian, your opponent could use something like an Ancient Grudge or Nature's Claim or whatever to kill that Felidar Guardian that you're targeting and interrupt your combo in a way that they weren't previously able to, since it didn't previously use an artifact. So something to keep in mind. Doesn't come up very often at all, but is theoretically possible. Still no Conflagrate. Lots of Lootings and Grudges and Dredgers, but I think I just block maximum amount of damage here. I guess I could also draw like a Rest in Peace at this point and maybe block my way out of this game. Okay, well that's going to be interesting. I probably want to eat some amalgams. How many dredgers does my opponent have, and how many green? I shouldn't have got Sacred Art Foundry for this very reason. I'm going to get to eat one less thing. That was definitely a mistake. If I grabbed Breeding Pool here, I'd be in a better spot for sure. So I only have 2 eats basically, so I can't. Can I eat? Let's see here. I can eat both their Lootings if I wanted to. I certainly can't eat all of their dredgers. So I think I just play Ooze and say go and let them start dredging. If they hit something like a Narcomoeba, I can just eat the Narcomoeba. Let's shrink this a little bit again. It's a little too big. Okay. And I'm certainly not interested in attacking my opponent. So we'll allow them to dredge. If I could eat... See, if I had gotten a Breeding Pool here, I would eat both their Faithless Lootings. Alright, so my opponent hit 2 Narcomoebas. So I basically have to eat both of those so they don't get their prized amalgams in play. Or I could just eat their... I guess the aggressive line is eat both their Narcomoebas. The conservative line is eat both their prized amalgams. Reason being, if they're able to find... They haven't seen any other Narcomoebas, so it's not very unlikely for them to find additional Amoebas off of their Faithless Looting that they will assuredly cast this turn. So I think I actually have to let these go, because they could also find a conflagrate. So yeah, I guess I wouldn't have to eat the amalgams now. So I'm going to plan on eating the amalgams unless a disaster strikes and I have to eat something else. So sure, you get your narcomoebas. If it was just one narcomoeba, I would definitely eat it. I think with 2, though, that uses up all my green, and I have to kind of just wait. Hopefully they don't dredge into a conflagrate here and just have priority and are able to cast it before I'm able to eat it. Hoping for a situation where they like dredge into narcomoeba plus cathartic, and then I'm able to eat the cathartic in response to a narcomoeba trigger or something of the sort, but we'll see how this goes. So they do also have a nature's claim. So there's conflagrate. Make sure I don't have yields. And they did not hit one of their other 2 narcomoebas. Oh, but they played a land first. Okay, but they do have 2 ghasts now, so lots of decisions to be made. I basically just can't let them have this conflagrate, though. So I'm going to eat an amalgam and a conflagrate this turn. I can't eat a ghast anyway with the fetch land. They could just respond and... Oh, they have 3 amalgams now. Oh, that's a disaster. Yeah, they've found all of their creatures now. Besides 2 of the amoebas, which may just be in their hand or something like that. Alright, well. We can still just draw Saheeli Rai. We're certainly playing to our outs. And it could be worse, honestly. We have reasonable blockers here. Interesting that my opponent fetched already. I guess they didn't have a land to get anyway, apparently. But now I can block these blood ghasts and not feel bad about it. I mean, they're going to loam. Have they played a land? They did. They played the fetch land, right? So, yeah. I mean, I guess I'd have to block them anyway. It just doesn't matter because the prize amalgams are coming back anyway, so that doesn't matter at all. Let's eat this amalgam before blocks. Although, I guess I would block if it didn't work. I don't know what would cause it to not work, though. It would definitely be something to kill my ooze, so I guess I should just block first. Without fearing a conflagrate, I think this is the correct block. Now I untap with a reasonable amount of green mana, 3 green mana. Evolution could certainly allow me to get something like a Thrag Tusk. I think it's probably better just to ooze twice. Especially because I'd have to sack something like a Baloth. I could sack the Felidar Guardian, but it's already not a bad blocker. We, of course, don't have Sun Titan in, otherwise we would win here. Yeah, we could sack this, get Sun Titan, get Saheeli, but that's not typical that games go this long against Dredge, I think, so I'm still glad we don't have it. Typically glad that we're not siding it in, or keeping it in, rather. That was apparently very difficult for me to get out. Linvala's in my board, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, it would really just be Thrag Tusk. I think I'd rather eat 3 things. If I'm going to eat blood ghasts, it's good to eat those now. Because my opponent could have fetch lands easily. So let's eat Bloodghast. And then pass. Sure. I guess I could have eaten one of those. That would have been better. I forgot that there was still one in there. Kind of my mistake. I could have just eaten all 3 of those things, in fact, and just sat. I kind of like leaving 1 green in case we get into a conflict rate situation again, but my opponent pretty much has to take natural draws with the size of their library at this stage. But yeah, I definitely should have just eaten that. That's my bad. I might lose because of that as well. Unfortunate. I can't really play around anything here. We'll just take the most conservative blocks. I would have only been taking 4 here had I eaten that as well, and instead I'm taking 6. Hardcast Stinkweed Imp, sure. Well, I'm gonna eat a prize amalgam. Well, the Flyers may get there. I don't, like I said, I was checking for Linvala. I don't have Linvala in right now. Other than that, I don't really have any Flyers to go grab. So I kind of just need to combo my opponent. Whoops. This can get Basic Forest to give me another Eat, or I could Evolution Plus. Might actually be a good time to start attacking, but they do have the Stinkweed Imp now, unfortunately, so it's not actually a very good time to start attacking. I might want to wait still. I mean, I'm only taking 3 in the air now, so I'm actually in a pretty good spot. Wonder if there's some argument for eating Life from the Loams now, or even like Faithless Lootings now that I have enough mana. I think not. I think it's better for me just wait. So actually, I'm just going to sit on my hands some more. My opponent does have the innate clock of their deck as well, but the Flyers would get there before that, unless I got like a Thragtusk or something. Leading on Dakmor Salvage is particularly strange sequencing, since my opponent is likely, or possibly, to lose some Bloodghasts this turn. But I guess they figure it just doesn't matter. Maybe just getting in the air. And they can't even, I guess they might feel like they can't even attack with this because my attacks are good then. Alright, so they do attack with the Stinkweed Imp. They might have another. I guess I should know. Haven't kept great track of what they've dredged. Yeah, they do have another. So I think it's particularly important for me to just continue to eat creatures here to keep my life total high rather than the relevant spells, especially since my opponent hasn't shown any interest in casting them anyway. Gaddock insulates me more from an additional conflict rate if my opponent has one, so it's probably worth playing. And I only lose the 1 activation, so to speak. I could swing in with my my Baloth here, perhaps. Again, I feel like I'm most interested in trying to just gain as much life as possible. My opponent I have 1 creature in my yard. My opponent has Insolent Neonate, Simian Spirit Guide, Neonate, so 3. So I can gain 4 life. So yeah, I think I'm going to just Teague pass. I'm still not particularly interested in sacking this Baloth, although it's becoming more appealing. But I still have good use out of this Ooze. So I think I'm actually just racing my opponent's library at this stage. I don't really want to trade Ooze for... I could have attacked with Baloth that turn, perhaps. I don't really feel like it's worth it, though. Yeah, we're taking 4. Glad we left Thragtusk in. Sure. So we'll have to keep in mind that if that Thug was to die in some way, we'll need a green mana up to ensure that it does not put itself back on top. It just says, does it say any card? Target creature card. Yeah, we'll just need to make sure we can eat whatever they target, basically. So they still have a Simian Spear Guide in there. I could get like a Kitchen Finks if I sacked that. That's not particularly interesting. This is nice though, because it actually gives me, it's like worth 2 life, I guess. Get to eat it with my ooze later and all that good stuff. So I think I ship in with ooze now. And then I still have like Baloth Guardian. I guess then I actually have to block a little differently. I could ship in with Baloth and sack it to get a Thrag Tusk now, which I think is fine. I do think this means I don't cast the oh, I could have gotten, I forgot I had the Eternal Witness in still. Oh my gosh, this has just been minutes of me being an idiot. Oh man. I also have the Staticaster I could have got. There's all kinds of stuff I could have got. I've just been sitting here like dirtling when I could have been winning the game. I don't know what my opponent could possibly have to stop me. Oh man, what an idiot I am. What now? What now? That's a pretty big misplay. Oh well. Do I even still get Tusk? Do we stick to our original game plan? Wow, I should have checked my list more carefully. Ewit, of course. I was like waning on about how I couldn't get Saheeli back with my Sun Titan, but we have an Ewit. Anyway, yeah, the problem with like, I guess I can just cast the Saheeli next turn. I'm not sure how my opponent's going to interact with that. They could have like a Decay, but they would have used it already on my ooze. So yeah, I'm just supposed to grab an Ewit here. I'm a big dummy. We'll cast this next turn. Wow. All right. That's some good stuff right there. I don't know how many minutes it's been that I could have killed my opponent, but that's a little while. That's a little while. Good old Eternal Witness. I guess my opponent can't Conflagrate if my Gaddock doesn't die, so not much to worry about in that regard. Think this is fine. Man, I'm such a goof. Cast Simian Spear Guide, you got it. Red, blue, and I guess we'll just use this. Looks like our opponent's gonna have us do it here, so we will make some yields happen. So we'll always yes, always yield. And we gotta make sure we target the original, unfortunately. I forgot the always yes doesn't work for that. Always yield does, at least. One tip for anybody who has to do this, you can bind yes to a key to help yourself do this a little bit faster. Like I said, I'm not on my usual setup, so I'm not sure what yes is bound to right now. So my opponent's at 14 here. We're going to have to make 15-ish Felidars. I have other attackers, obviously, but it's worth making a couple extra just in case. I guess I could also just path this and attack with my Scavenging Ooze and hope that that's good enough if I wanted to save some time. But I still have nine minutes. I'm not crazy rushed. So we'll just go ahead and do what we've got and have the path as a backup plan, I guess. Okay, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Let's make one more. And then we'll just let Saheeli sit on 3. Attack with... I guess we'll say attack with everything and then turn the Gaddock Teeg back. Rakdos Charm. Okay, no Rakdos Charm. Okay. Like I said, I don't know what my opponent really could have had if I just pathed there, but it's not really worth it. I guess I could have done both to be most conservative, but anyway, that game is... We'll just erase that game from our memory. Never happened. I didn't just sit there for minutes on end, not killing my opponent. It was good. It was good. Everything was great. That's what you remember from this. You remember that we won, I'm sure. Nothing else. All right. I'm going to run it back. Could put the Linvala in, but don't think it's worth it just as a flyer. That game was kind of unique. But Scavenging Ooze did some work there. I'm glad we had Ooze. That was the first time I've played against Dredge with Ooze in this list. Very happy to have it there. Have a Rest in Peace in this hand, so I'm going to keep. Card is reasonable against Dredge, although I am on the draw. So my opponent, if they have a particularly good draw, could get quite a few gentlemen into play before I have the opportunity to do anything about it. But we're going to hope for the best. Take a Baloth out of those options. Yeah, so our kind of approach to this matchup is turn off Conflagrate if possible. Obviously look for Rest in Peace if possible. And then build up a large board state of blockers. So hopefully no Cathartic also. Looks like they're just immediately Catharticing, which is not... Yeah, that's... So this is worst case scenario. Our Rest in Peace is likely not going to be good enough now. Yeah, they hit Meba. Hopefully no more amalgams. So just the one amalgam. Okay, so that's beatable for sure. It's nice that we're going to get to exile this Conflagrate. And we're going to hit a Bloodghast as well. I do have Izzet Staticaster in, but I'm just not going to respect my Staticaster right now. So hopefully my opponent can't deal with this. And even if they can, hopefully we slowed them down some amount. I should definitely look back to see what they dredged. It's something I would definitely pay more attention to if I am able. Stinkweed Imp and... Let's see, it is a Stinkweed Imp. Maybe 2 Stinkweed Imps? There's one of them. Alright, so they're in hardcast their guys mode. That's good for me. I have this path as well. So I think I actually do it. Is it worth shocking though? Not really, because I'm just ended up taking more damage that way. Although, I guess let's see what I draw first here. I can't get another Plains, by the way, if you're curious. I only have the one. I think I just play this tapped rather than like path this. I'm certainly not interested in pathing this when I have the ability to block. I guess I play this. No, because I don't really want to. If they're able to deal with my wall, though, I would want to path this, I think. No, I still wouldn't, because I'm just following up with Baloth. So yeah, let's just go this tapped. Make sure I don't spend too much time on decisions like those. I am certainly behind on my clock. Although we're certainly not in panic territory or anything. Still got 7.5. Neonate. We'll certainly take our block. Down to 11, but we do have a few ways to gain life. A lot, actually, if you include these Felidars as well. So I feel pretty good about where we're at. Our opponent can definitely find a way to kill this Rest in Peace, though. Bloodghast. That one's kind of a bummer, but it's not a huge deal. We can go Baloth into Felidar instead of Baloth into Thragtusk, which is not... Still very good. Still very good for us. I was going to say, that's interesting. I could see sort of them attacking with all of them, but then they still only get in for one, and this gets exiled, so I think this is a better attack for our opponent for sure. Another Stinkweed Imp, which I think we knew about. It's a good backup plan. Yeah, I'm not really looking to attack here. If they traded their Stinkweed for Baloth, I'd be bummed. I could blink this. I think I'd actually just rather have the life here. But maybe that's incorrect. You know, maybe I want to... I mean, that's like just a time walk there. I mean, I'm buying myself one turn of the attacks. Maybe it's more important that I just dig towards Saheeli. But I think I have such a strong life game plan right now that... Maybe that's more of an argument that I don't need to, though. Maybe it's I have such a strong life game plan, I don't need to gain more. I need to dig towards something relevant, but... Alright. Alright, well, we found Saheeli. Certainly a good draw. So it looks like we're able to get there against Dredge. So have to make sure I don't misclick here. Looks like my opponent's going to concede anyway. Alright, well, I keep closing that before it's time, but I will see you in round number 5.